Images of a person seeing or hearing things that aren't there, or conjuring fantastic narratives that aren't true, known as positive symptoms. The disorder also includes what we call negative symptoms, things that take away from a person's normal functioning. There's an interior hollowness, a depletion of one's energy, an inability to feel much of anything. Most people with schizophrenia will say those symptoms are the hardest part, and the medications that we have right now do little to help address them. Michael reports experiencing much of this, and like many millennials, he has turned to the internet to help him understand his symptoms. This has led him into the wastelands of YouTube and its algorithm, and he tells me what he saw. I've been watching videos of other people who are diagnosed with schizophrenia, older people. They were saying that life has been hell for them, and it just gets worse and worse. A lot of them said that they want to die. He is both right and not right, as I try to explain to him. If schizophrenia is detected early, as his was, the outcomes are much better than if it is allowed to progress untreated. Since it is usually a disease that strikes in young adulthood, precisely when most of us feel that we're invincible anyway and have no need to see a doctor, this is often easier said than done. However, the severity of episodes Michael has experienced to date is concerning, and a psychiatrist has yet to find an antipsychotic that hits the middle ground of blunting his symptoms without erasing his core identity. I try to explain all of this as gently as I can, but I can feel the tightrope underneath my feet. So what you're saying is that you can't really be sure, but they could be right? I don't want to end up like that. I can't. I end up doing something that I wouldn't do now, and that is to try to match his stories of endless suffering with those of other people with schizophrenia who have managed to thrive. From the perspective of the present, I realized that, instead of allowing both of us to sit with his feelings, I grew uncomfortable, scared even, and acted out of my own fears. But at the time, I did what I thought would help. Together, we watch a TED Talk by Ellen Sachs, an accomplished USC law professor who has also been diagnosed with schizophrenia. I can tell he is unimpressed, but he is kind and humors me. At the conclusion of our session, I check and he assures me that he has no plans to try to kill himself. Michael won't tell me for some time, but he will continue to watch those YouTube videos. He grows more distressed as he imagines what the future holds, sees all the ways it might be constricted. When one of the videos mentions a way to kill yourself that is supposed to be relatively quick and painless, he will think about it. Months after our conversation, after several other sessions, he will try it when his family and I least expect it. But his story doesn't end there. He will be hospitalized then and a few other times, and somewhere along the way he will find the right combination of medications. They will help restore him to himself, and he will begin to allow himself to dream. He will start to relate to the idea of schizophrenia in a different way. What does it mean to be diagnosed with a mental illness? If you ask most people, they would probably tell you that mental illnesses are caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. This view, first promulgated in the late 1950s and early 1960s, has now been thoroughly debunked by professionals, but it continues to persist in the absence of any concrete evidence. At the time the chemical imbalance theory was first proposed, modern psychiatry was still in its infancy and struggling to legitimize itself as a medical discipline in the face of much skepticism from other branches of medicine that were more obviously based upon biology. It didn't help that prior to the invention of psychotropic medication, the primary tools of psychiatry were often brutal: electroshock therapy, insulin comas, lobotomies. The idea that mental illnesses were due to our brains failing to keep certain neurotransmitters in proper balance placed psychiatrists on the same level as other medical professionals, as psychiatrists had long desired. Diseases of the mind were no different than diseases of the body. That may be how it started, but the real staying power of the chemical imbalance theory is thanks to the pharmaceutical industry. The idea that depression in particular is caused by low levels of a neurotransmitter called serotonin was a problem to which drug companies had a readily available answer: selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, by far the most commonly prescribed class of drugs for depression. An early television ad for Zoloft depicts a sad-looking blob lying underneath its own personal rain cloud, impervious to the call of a songbird nearby. The narrator solemnly intones the symptoms of depression. As the music shifts into a major key, a graphic of nerve A and nerve B appears, with neurotransmitters moving between them.